This is the 4.49-inch barreled Glock 17 Gen 5, chambered in 9mm. If you're looking for a full-size pistol with world-renowned reliability and durability, then this might need to be on your short list. Plus, Glock removed those finger grooves. So without further ado, let's dive in. When Gaston Glock first designed the original Glock pistol, he intended to make the perfect pistol. Or at least, that's the simplified version of it. Arguably, he did. Now, when it was released, officials at the time did make a torture test, and they tortured these things by throwing them out of helicopters, putting them through freeze tests, and all sorts of crazy things. After that, they adopted it in mass. So let's see if the Generation 5 can hold up to that legacy. Up top, they do give you a single white dot as your front sight. Flanking that on either side, you do get slide serrations, which will help you to press check it. Unlike some of the previous generation Glocks as well, the nose is slightly chamfered on the corners and the sides. Here's a Generation 2 for example. On the left side, Glock does have milled into it. They have the logo, the model, and the origination country, not to mention the 9x19, which is the size of bullet. On your left-hand side, you do have a tiny Glock logo, which I always love pointing those out, right next to the rear slide serrations. So press checking this in any which way that you want to should be fairly easy to do. The rear sight does have on the back a U-shaped kind of formation, which will help you acquire targets fairly quickly. On the Generation 5, Glock also gives you a match-grade barrel internally, which is always appreciated, meaning they could take a little more abuse and go for longer. On either side of the slide, Glock does give you ambidextrous slide releases as well. Right next to the slide release, you are also going to have your tear down lever, which you pull and the slide will come right off. I would show you how to do that, however, monetization. So, moving on. On the bottom of the 17, Glock is going to give you a Picatinny rail with a single crossbar slot. This should enable you to mount pretty much any laser or light that you're going to want to mount onto this thing. Right behind that, we do have our square-ish trigger guard. On the front, there is a horizontal texture pattern, which will help you with a little bit of grip or finding your location on the pistol itself, followed off by more of a straight edge bottom with a little bit of a recess right in here. The trigger itself is going to be what you would expect from Glock. So let's show you what I mean. When you start the trigger pull, there is that Glock safety on this semi-automatic pistol. And when you pull that safety in, there's even a little bit more take up after that. So overall, it does feel like there's a lot of take up here. When you hit that wall, it is very defined, at which point you push past for a nice clean break. Now the break on it does have a little bit of mushiness to it. However, the reset on this thing is going to be where it actually stands out a little more. The break is okay, the reset's going to be just a little bit better. Behind the trigger is going to be where our mag release sits. It is a nice large rectangular shape, which is actually something different from some of the original Glocks. Just to give you an example, the mag release on the Generation 2 is much smaller and vertical, whereas this one's more horizontally shaped as far as a rectangle goes, making it very easy to press and find consistently without having to look. Just to give you an example, very easy to use, no hang-ups. The mag does fall freely after you press it, which overall is nice and consistent. Down to the grip itself, you do have a square texturing on all four sides of that grip. Now you do have a little bit of an indentation on either side for your index finger and your thumb, which does help you kind of navigate into place and also helps you to not accidentally hit that mag release. As you can see, that indent is it's almost level with that mag release itself, meaning it's going to be harder to press on accident if you're gripping the pistol very hard. Not to mention, one of my favorite features about the Glock 17 Gen 5 is you do have a flared mag well. You can see it just a little bit, ever so slightly built into the polymer grip itself. You do have just a little bit of flare, meaning if you hit it a little bit off, it's going to guide you right in. Again, I'll show you the Generation 2 in contrast so you can actually see the wider difference. Without that, you might not know the difference from Gen 2 to Gen 5. You still do retain that back strap hole cutout, so if you needed to pull out the mag, if it got jammed in there or stuck for any reason, you are going to retain that with some adjustable back straps. They just add onto the back here, allowing for a little bit more of a wider grip if you need it. Glock also is going to give you a nice hard shell case that does come with two 17+1 round mags and a few other things inside that box. Now, I always recommend that you double check your listing to make sure you're getting exactly that, because sometimes manufacturers can change these things and you might not get what I say in this box. So always give that a double check. In conclusion, Glock has made some much needed improvements to the Generation 5 17. This tried and true firearm really does take the notion, if it ain't broke, don't fix it to heart. Not to mention, they're not going to reinvent the wheel, but they will give you some very nice additions and upgrades every generation. Combine that with the updates that Glock did make, the durability, dependability, and reputation, it is hard to keep this off the top of your buying list if you're looking for a full-size pistol. If you have any experiences with the Glock 17 Gen 5, feel free to leave a review. We would love to see your comments. That is all I have for you today. God bless. It is time to end.